jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's the jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
Hey, there we go.
There we go. It's so funny. On Zoom, you can program it to where it says, "You are now recording," in some Skynet type voice. And, and this one, it just says, "Make sure you're telling people they're being legally recorded." It's like, what is this, Watergate?
Watergate. I actually haven't even I've made it this far into the pandemic without using Zoom.
Yeah, I was using it for a while, and then it just got to where it's like, okay, something's got to give. Because I'm not going to pay a premium. I don't use it enough to merit that. And at the same time, if you're going to kick us off commonly, then I quit too.
Okay, is my audio good?
You sound good. I don't hear any
No
dogs
background
barking.
noise or anything?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, cool.
Should I be looking for some?
Oh, I'm like hoping there's no background.
Oh, you! Yeah, it took me forever to realize, you can keep the fan on, you just can't keep the box fan on. And lo and behold. So you're the third person I've talked about with it on this thing. Is just one of those franchises. It's just kind of just brought a whole new level. It was just reminding people, again, TV can be just as engaging as whatever movie series you're getting caught up on. As I mentioned before on all these other themes, again, you got anti-hero turned villain, then you got people using each other, and then you're just trying to remind the audience, hey, we're not a Sopranos knockoff. We're here because
Breaking Bad is really it's like the first television show that I actually like sat and watched religiously.
It says a lot.
Oh yeah, especially for like a long time and everything, and still like today, a lot of people don't like sit and watch TV. But I was like,
record it,
you record it, you watch it later and everything. You watch it on Netflix, you wait for the season to come out and everything. But with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, you actually have people like sitting down and like waiting for the episode to come out week to week.
Yeah. How did you feel about the nightmarish visions and all the other just kind of stuff that just foreshadows where they're going? Because it seems like that's the rare instance where it's going somewhere. And you watch it on any other show like Netflix or just some other, just even a controversial movie, and you're like, I don't know what the hell's going on, and I'm losing interest. And,
like with this show and everything, it makes it so
surreal. Just like, wow, I feel like I've just seen everybody's just it's depressing, but not in a way where it's just off-putting and too gimmicky. It's like I want to understand.
You actually you connect with each character. That's really
the crazy part.
Yeah, that's like something that not a lot of shows and not a lot of writers and everything get down, is to have you connect with each and every character, just characters that they want you to empathize with.
Right. Jesse actually legit does.
Yeah, you start out like with Breaking Bad, you start out like
he's annoying and everything, and
yeah,
then
and then by the end of it, by the end of it, you're just like he is the main protagonist that you're watching.
exactly. If I
And
had
you start to hate Walter and
oh
start to
yeah,
love Jesse.
Walter's a total C word.
Oh yeah, and Walt.
And he, the bad thing is he thinks he is doing it all for good. It's like, no,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you're
Because
past that.
and the thing is, whenever whenever you start the show from like beginning to end, a lot of people, including myself, you empathize with Walter the entire time just because you've gone through all of this stuff with him, and then you realize along the way that, oh my God, he's actually the bad guy now.
Yeah.
It's really an instance of, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Oh yeah, and there's just too many people. You can tell they're warped and they're thinking they want to defend him. It's like, no.
Yeah, and I was one of those people. Like you really want to defend
I do too,
defend Walter, but you can't. You can't especially like when you get to a certain point.
Compared to all the other villains we've grown up watching on TV, I mean, Vic Mackey is scum of the earth. He's a Rampart worthy, LAPD turned ICE agent, probably the kind of guy you'd see at a QAnon meet and greet, and he's not anywhere near as demented or fucked up as Walter. That's the other thing too, is he always just at first he legit thinks he believes in what bullshit he's spewing, and then as he goes on, as he gets older and more frail, then he just struggles. He just is like, yeah, I know it's bullshit, but take it. And it's like, I saved your ass. It's like, yeah, well, you're still a bastard.
Are we doing spoilers? Like this is okay because
why not? Most people have probably already seen this by now. It would not be the same without Gus. It really wouldn't.
Oh no, definitely not. Like I actually saw this meme the other day. It was like the main character is screwed whenever Giancarlo Esposito shows up.
Right. Here he is now on Mandalorian, but I was already familiar with him in movies like Fresh. He's the
I think he was in School Days, wasn't it? I think it's School Days.
He's there briefly. He's Eddie
Frankly.
Murphy's cellmate in it's not Beverly Hills Cop. It's fucking the one with Dan Aykroyd. I can never remember the title.
Oh, the one with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, Trading Places?
That's the one. Okay. And I know the movie. I just, for whatever reason, I never remember the title. It's stupid. I've seen it a few times, but it's like there's that, Law and Order, Homicide, so that you got.
Oh yeah, he's definitely a favorite, honestly. Oh yeah, Do the Right Thing. That was another one. Oh, and The Usual Suspects. I actually just watched that. I rewatched that the other day. Yeah.
Ironically, in the trivia, some of these, especially on Wiccas, they've noted how his character is kind of similar almost to Gus. This is like, because he's one of the few witnesses. He's like, that guy, that motherfucker. And here with this one, he takes it up a notch, being his tragic backstory is probably the most interesting because he's basically been abused by both his uncle and all the other gangsters played by Stephen Bauer from, Scarface. And it's like, and you pretty much root for all those guys' comeuppances, even after knowing that he's a bastard himself. So it's like, it is interesting how, I think what's more interesting is how this doesn't, as I've noted before, ever feel like a Tarantino knockoff or just any other kind of movie where it's just trying to be too cartoonish and over the top for its own good. I mean, it has over the top moments, but it's still trying
it still feels believable.
Yeah, and
you have these moments like you're like, there's no way that this character is going to get out of this.
Absolutely. I definitely rank these characters. These are some of my favorite crime characters, up along with T-Bag on Prison Break, Alonzo, Denzel's character on Training Day, and just plenty of others. It's like,
yeah, that's another character that's another movie that I just watched recently and everything. And that's another example of what I was saying, is that, along the way, you realize that this guy is just nuts.
Right. And it was part of that subgenre of, just every other movie had to have two big name actors, and one of them slowly coming to grips with what the audience already knows, is that the other character is clearly a psycho or sociopath
Yeah.
becoming a psycho. And
Yeah, and it's
but this
Training Day
basically-
had that thing where like it starts out, this guy is just like, kind of strange and everything, and then you like by the end you're like, oh, this guy is like
okay,
completely
he's
evil.
a bigot, he's an asshole, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. It's
Yeah,
like,
he's like,
oh
oh,
no,
this guy
he
is
hates
way worse than I thought he
everybody.
was.
Yeah, he's like Jack Nicholson in A Few Good
And
Men. He hates
and
everybody
with
who's
Gus,
not him.
with Gus Fring, I feel like it takes the opposite actually with Gus is
Yeah,
like him and Walter's characters like take the opposite way. So you like Gus starts out, oh, I hate this guy, and
right.
he gets and yeah, at the peak moment or
I
whatever, you're
need
like,
you
oh, this
now.
guy is terrible, and then along the way he gets more and more relatable.
You see why he does all. At first, you think, okay, he's a
Yeah,
typical-
you see why he's I wouldn't say relatable because I've never been in those
Of
situations.
course,
Yeah,
I've met
I've never
plenty
met
of
like
scumbags at various jobs, but never to the
oh, yeah.
point where I'm
They
like,
kill my best
They're-
friend or lover.
right, they're threatening to kill my sister.
Yeah, it's never gotten that dire,
Right, and not to where I have to call the police and wait for them to show up late. But don't. Like every movie and every real life scenario ever. But it's interesting how is like then it gets even more just like shitty to where it's like, wow, okay, so at first you think he's a criminal in disguise, part of all these charities, part of being this Chick-fil-A type Tex-Mex restaurant. And it's like, but now you understand once you know his crappy backstory. Now you're like, now he really does get off on that. He really does actually want to feel like he's doing good.
Oh yeah.
In between all his shady dealings. And
I really can't wait to see how like everything ends. I was actually looking at it like earlier today before I even remembered.
oh, you'll just have it on in the background while you're
yeah.
Nice. I can't wait for the final season of Better Call Saul because it's come a long way. I mean, and even though it's
I
got
actually like Better Call Saul more than I like Breaking Bad.
we're all with you on that fence because it's like basically it shouldn't have worked. It should have been a cash in or just
yeah, because I mean, like how many like prequels and prequel series and everything have you seen that like didn't work out and everything? So it's like everybody's like rolling, right? Everybody's just rolling their eyes and everything, and then you start watching it and you're just like, oh, this is better than the original.
Yeah, and I mean, those have even more distorted flashbacks. Jimmy should be just this absolute unlikable douchebag, and now you're just like, he's a bastard, but he's surrounded by other shitheads who.
Oh yeah, and you see why he is the way that he is.
Hamlin is one of the worst bosses ever because he basically he acts like you don't appreciate him, and he's giving you everything. He's bled out for you. And yet he acts like a over controlling pimp. He's like, no.
Oh my god, that is like a really good descriptor. Actually,
that's exactly what he is. How the way he's looking at Kim, like, well, what is this a casting call? Like, no, she's no one's property, dude. Anyone who thinks anyone is people's property, you suck. I'm sorry.
Right.
And Kim is just a strong, opinionated person, and you only feel. Again, he'll look at her several times.
Honestly,
it's like
the character that most that I like the most, like the most interesting character in Better Call Saul to me is actually Chuck.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Chuck
other.
It was just there was a whole lot going on.
That's just it. Any other show would have used that too much as a plot device, where it's like, I just want to skip past that, and that's kind of where I guess. For the longest time, I hated Hank's segments because he fucking sucked.
Yeah, and see
Hank's
that's like one of those other examples and everything because Hank, I feel like gets more likable as the show progresses, but at the same time, you're hoping, like you're really really hoping that he screws up, but you're hoping that he wins at the same time.
Yeah, because I mean, his wife, who's Skylar's, sister, is also overbearing.
Oh, I can stand Marie, honestly. She's like my least favorite character.
Good actors, mind you.
Oh yeah.
Good God,
it's
like,
she played unlikable so well.
Right, it's like it's more interesting knowing why Jesse is trying to, get away from this, screw over Walt, Walt try and make this marriage work, even though it never could have possibly worked in a million years. And like you say, seeing Gus, see crooked cop turned hitman Mike, and just
I feel like on rewatch you start to see other characters in different in a completely different light. Like you start saying like you see that like how like Walt's decline so much clearer.
Absolutely, you see all
and
these
how it
Easter
affects everybody
eggs.
else because the first time I watched it, I definitely was not paying attention to like any like Skylar and Walt Jr. and everything. It was just they were just like in the
Background
background. Yeah, they were just background noise. I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care. Cook some meth, shoot somebody. Let's get on with the action.
Let's get on with the
And
stuff.
then you rewatch it and you're just like, no, Walt, please go back to your family. Don't go down this road.
Oh, and I was mentioning earlier in the last chat, all these actors, I thought, well, I'd seen Dean Norris, who plays Hank, and I'd seen, what's his name from Beverly Hills Cop, Jonathan Banks, who played, again, Mike, and other stuff. And I thought, okay, they're not bad, but I kind of thought, like with Danny Trejo's earlier roles, where it's like, okay, they're in everything, but they're not necessarily great actors. They're just, people you hire.
I feel like Danny Trejo's character didn't last long enough.
That's true too, but it's like that's true. He is on this, but it's like it's one of those. Like I see him on this, and I realize, shit, anyone can be a good actor. It's just you gotta cast them in something where they got enough time to grow in the role and see. They were in everything.
I mean, some people don't want to be typecast, but then some people just like thrive.
Just work.
Yeah, they're like it just works so good.
You're right.
Makes everything so much more watchable than somebody that's trying too hard to play other characters.
That or they're trying to differentiate and they're just failing because she's like, I'm sorry, we only see you.
Yeah, it doesn't work. We only see you in this light. Yeah. Are we talking El Camino too, or are we just talking?
Yeah, sure. I was actually really surprised by that one too, because again, it's like it'd been multiple years. Aaron Paul already had a film career, and it's like, really going back to this? I thought you were past it. I thought everyone was.
I thought El Camino was gonna be like garbage, honestly. But
same too. Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, it came through. Like they really came through with El Camino, and it just wrapped up the story like so nicely. And you see, and it just like there's like fan service, and there's just
watch it
things
without
that work.
knowing anything about it. You're just realizing, okay, this guy is very dreamy. This blur of reality to this character. He's finally free of drugs, free of the life, and he's still got 5 more obstacles to get through.
Yeah,
he is not like if anything, Walter is like Doughboy and Boys in the Hood, where he doesn't want to ever change and he wants you to get out of his way. And in a few years, he'll be dead anyway, even though he beat everything else.
And he did all of this stuff because. Like it's just funny because he did all of this to pay for his cancer treatment, so he rationalized it. Yeah. So he rationalized, doing all of these bad things, and then just to help pay for everything, for his treatments, for his family to live on and everything, and it ended up just having the complete opposite effect. He still ended up dying, and his family still ended up living in a hotel or, having to, and his brother-in-law's dead now. All like a whole lot of other stuff. Like he ends up just completely screwing over his whole entire family.
His tombstone will read, fucked up everything, never did anything good.
Yeah, screwed up everything.
Always a bastard. And, do you ever watch some of the more recent shows like Homeland or Power or Ray Donovan?
I couldn't really get into Power, honestly. I watched like a little bit of Power at the very beginning.
The first 2 episodes are rough, but I think you're gonna really just dig how even more fucked up it gets as it goes on. Yeah,
so I hear everybody was like I remember like whenever the seasons were going on and everything, everybody's like talking about it every week, but I'm not one of those people that really likes to watch like TV shows weekly.
Yeah. Fortunately, it's on Hulu. You can just binge it all. But yeah, the first 2 episodes are rough. It's like I feel like there's too much porn on this. Okay, perfect.
Oh.
It's past that now. Now it's all this. FBI attorney is crooked. This guy wants to get out of the life. This other guy has an alter ego. He's not just a nightclub owner. He's like, okay, screw it. Suck it, Sopranos. This is very deep. This is up there with The Wire, where everybody is talking about. They do a little bit of what Breaking Bad does later on, where you see a lot of Easter eggs that don't really mean much until you rewatch them. Is like, okay, this is an interesting aspect on. This is the show's version of outlook on society. Okay, that's kind of cool. Yeah, this is an interesting commentary on this. And I mean, when Breaking Bad was just first talked about, just endlessly, and just so many snobs I knew talked about it, I was like, I'll get to it. I'm still kind of more into these kinds of shows, but
yeah, because it's like everybody tells you to watch like certain shows and everything, and then you start watching it and you're just like, why did I do this? But Breaking Bad was one of those shows that's just like, oh, this is actually interesting.
Exactly. And like Big Lebowski, all the potheads were all into it, so I'm like, so it can't possibly be any good. It's like, and then I watch it and it's like, no, it's dynamite. I already want to know what's happens.
And then like you're the one that's quoting it in conversations all the time
absolutely.
now.
I feel like they got the same casting as freaking The Closer and Major Crimes, because I mean I see so many recurring actors on both of those shows. I look forward to every indie film that Charles Baker is in. He plays Skinny Pete, and even though it's more often than not a shit fest, I was like, well, at least he's good in it. Well, what's your take? Oh, I gotta hear your take on Tuco, Hector's psychotic nephew, played by Raymond Cruz of Clear and Present Danger and Blood and Blood Out.
He was fantastic.
I could not see anyone else in that role.
No, because I've seen like I think he was in Training Day too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he plays Sniper. And which I always thought was a reference to his earlier Marine roles, because that's what he was doing, sniping people. But
he was fantastic as Tuco. And Tuco's character was just like the right amount of chaos that Breaking Bad needed, really.
And I mean, he's the first client Jimmy ever has to talk his way out of, and so that's just even more wacky. Is like, out of all the bastards, all the motherfuckers, when you first see
the way that Breaking Bad, the way that Better Call Saul handled Tuco's character was really good.
Yeah,
because it wasn't like too much. Yeah, it was perfect. It was like right. You definitely, you definitely believed, that it was him before, and you
and Cruz hadn't aged too terribly. I've always thought he's been a cool guy, but it's like he's been one of those guys. He's gotten a little out of. He was in gangster movies, but he wasn't ever to the point where it's like that's all he's gonna ever play. I mean, again, if you ever seen The Closer, he's detective with an attitude problem, and then he got again all the other soldier movies he's done. So it's like to see him in this, how he just goes from being like just nonstop, just laughing maniacally. He's like, this guy, he's cool, he's in with my gang, and then at the same time, and then he start in a totally different scene. He's threatening to kill him, and doing the same exact laugh. It's like, geez, okay. There was never an off switch for this guy. You thought, okay, he's a shithead half the time, and he's like, no, he's a shithead all the time. It's a cool test for Saul, because he's the first guy who he has really, really, really talk his way out of.
Saul, and that I really like. That's kind of the reason why I really love Better Call Saul, is because you just get to see Jimmy Saul talk his way out of everything, and you're just wondering how he's going to do this. Exactly. And along the way, in the very beginning and everything, he's trying to do things above board, and slowly along as the show gets further along, you just see him more and more willing. Like the episode with the series of episodes when he has to get Huel out of I think he punched the cop.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. And the way he just had all of these phones lined up.
Yeah.
And all of these different characters written out and everything. It was just,
oh man, I got reminded of all our amateur film journeys when we saw him, trolling the college students who he has film all his ads. It was like, been there, Been there. God, never. I would never work with someone like this. I would walk off the set immediately. This motherfucker doesn't know what he wants.
Something that I want to ask you actually is like, who is your least favorite character?
That is a hard one.
No, hard question. And I mean, I don't mean like bad. I don't mean like badly written or anything, because I don't really think that they.
I don't think
wrote any characters badly. But like your least favorite in terms of like personality.
Hank, without a doubt, because I just Dean Norris just, you know,
he plays it really well.
Absolutely. I feel like I have encountered one of those, you know, bigots, douchebags, just laughing at his own fart jokes. That kind of, you know, it's a mixture of high school mixed with college.
And the worst part is that he's a good guy in the show. He's like,
he's the agent. And agent, should I like him?
Like he's a good guy, and he's a good guy, but he's annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're supposed to hate him because he's, you know, the bad guy in Walt's eyes and everything, and he's kind of one of those guys that's just unbearable, but not really.
Absolutely. And hitting on that,
I have to say, like, there's so many there's so many characters that you just hate along the way.
For Saul, that would also be hard. It would have to be Hamlin.
I was gonna say without a doubt Hamlin.
It's just because, again, that actor, I guess he has handsome looks, but he just is one of those, is like, monster.
I mean, and do you actually believe he said that like Chuck was the one that made them not hire Jimmy, but how spineless do you have to be?
Chuck is a bastard, but at least it's amusing seeing his various freakouts and all that. And
I cannot believe like the stuff that Jimmy gets away with the bowling ball.
Oh my god! Yeah. And the fact that this, even though it involves lawyers, it's not filmed like a typical lawyer show.
That's why it's so easy to watch and so easy to laugh at and everything, because it's basically like hijinks.
Exactly. And when he plays the tricks, it's not in a way where it's like, okay, he would not only get disbarred, but also, you know, thrown in jail.
It's like he's very aware of the fact that he would get in trouble. And so it's really...
He does what anyone should do. He makes it be all about something else entirely all of a sudden, to where the defense has to just say, what the fuck, Saul? I thought you wanted this. Okay, now you're making it about this. Now... you totally have won the judge's favor, or you've just made the judge just say, you know, move forward for a mistrial.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All, sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time. Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We might talk about video games, music. Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Ah, yes.
I am the master storyteller
Yes.
of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers,
Yes.
the Google Play,
Yes.
Apple Podcasts,
What else?
Podbean,
What else?
Podcast Addict,
Goddamn.
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, motherfucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ.
Ah.
We gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want us here to say
Ah. Ah.
all
Yeah.
that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Yeah. don't run the listeners away, PJ.
Ah, I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
all popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
did
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. Whether one last plot holes or gratuitous movies, it's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Welcome to Who Was She podcast. I am your host, Tara Jabari. After a decade working in documentaries, marketing, and all things digital media, I found that podcasting is a strong medium to share stories. After years of producing for others, I decided to start my own biographical podcast. Who Was She will focus on the life of a woman throughout Baha'i history. The first season is about Lydia Zamenhof. Lydia's story explores the subjects of the power of language and faith. Her father invented the universal language Esperanto, and she came from a Jewish family and became a Baha'i. She grew up during World War I and was killed during World War II in a concentration camp, despite heroic efforts to save her life. How can one person's life intersect with so many others, connect across borders, and inspire a biography which inspired this podcast? Over the next few weeks, I will share her story with you and the lives that were most affected by her and those who affected her life as well. They include her father, Ludwig Zamenhof, her spiritual mother, American journalist Martha Root, and the Baha'i German soldier Fritz Mako, who worked for the resistance undercover while having to serve the Nazi Party. I want to thank the author Wendy Heller and George Ronald Publishing for their blessing to let me use Heller's biography, Lydia, The Life of Lydia Zamenhof, Daughter of Esperanto, as a main and instrumental resource for this podcast. So please subscribe and learn about this amazing woman who traveled through 3 continents in an effort to bring unity through the power of language. You can also find more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Who Was She Podcast. Music was composed and performed by Sam Red. I am your host, Tara Jabari. Join us next time as we begin our journey about Lydia Zamenhof.
Hi, everybody. It's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything: pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant, 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.
Are you sick of the same old stale podcasts? Well, then join Vanessa and Darren as they dissect movies of all kinds. The 2 lifelong cinema lovers bring their favorites, curiosities, and first-time watches to the operating table and inject them with a healthy dose of snark. Then there's the waiting room, where they examine books and short stories. So just look for them on Apple Podcasts and where fine podcasts are available. They're part of the Legion Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at VDClinicPod. Join them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/VDClinicPod. Or email them at vdclinicpod@gmail.com. They're ready to cure what ails you. And still, they just might be a little contagious.
We now continue with our program.
An underrated character that I find is very interesting, just from being a fan of him as the desk sergeant on The Shield, is Nigel Gibbs' character of Detective Roberts. He's the one African-American guy. You first see him in Breaking Bad, where he's like, hey, Hank, I need help with a favor. And Hank is just absolutely just like, get the fuck out of my room, I'm getting better. And it's like, I can't even shit straight. And it's like, oh my God, dude, this could have made your career. And then after he's gone, then he wants to help him. It's like, oh my God, dude.
Right.
And it's only after he thinks he thought he was the smartest dude, and he's like, yeah, no, the outline totally
That's
matches
everybody's downfall.
I'm your son-in-law. The answer is in the room next to you. But yeah, Gibbs is interesting. The Detective Roberts character is interesting because on Saul, he'll just show up on occasion, and he's just asking a lot of questions, and he just always has that look on his face of, I did not just hear that, did I? And just has that look. It's like he is like the only, no, I wouldn't say normal. He's the only guy who just seems to be thinking what the viewer's thinking. Where it's like, this just got weird, and I want to leave the room right now. But who's your most favorite besides Gus and
like most favorite bad guy?
oh well, yeah, I'm not gonna do that because they're basically all been.
Everybody's a bad guy in the show, really.
I like Kim a lot because she's basically
in Better Call Saul. I mean, it's so hard. But my favorite character in Better Call Saul is definitely Mike. But Mike was was one of my favorites in Breaking Bad also.
Right, and
he was just the voice of reason for a lot.
Yeah, he's like, gotta get on with killing.
But at the same time, like he was the voice of reason, but at the same time he was doing like the most like screwed up stuff.
Oh, he's the worst out of all of them. He will not get any funeral. I guarantee you, when his daughter finds out about him, it's just like, yeah, no, the kids don't have to know what happened to him.
It's watching Better Call Saul after watching Breaking Bad and just knowing how what happens afterwards is just
right. I knew he was a beat cop. I didn't know he was a crooked cop who, as a result of his activities, his son got killed, and he had to cover that up and look after.
Oh man, that realization, it hurt.
Yeah, and it's like, and you thought, okay, he's a flawed dude. How did he just need some money and just say, oh, it's just like killing assholes on the street and I'll become a hitman? It's like, no, he became that demented. He was always a shitty person. So it's like, okay. It's interesting seeing that other guy, played by voice actor J.B. Blanc, playing the guy who stitches everyone up. You first see him in Breaking Bad, Gus.
Gus.
And then seeing how he gets introduced later,
that was a chaotic scene. When Gus get the whole poisoning and there was so much going on. I actually rewatched it not too long ago. That whole scene, I was just like, Jesus.
Yes, I love to hate Steven Bauer. I hear he's a difficult to work with actor, but a cool, charismatic dude. But.
And you know what? The funny thing is about watching that scene again is just I was like literally like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, oh my God, how are they gonna get out of this? But I'm just like, wait, I've seen this before, and I've seen
it's well staged
that happens afterwards. Yeah, it's the way that it's definitely the way that it's edited and the way that it's acted and everything. It just makes you feel like you're in that moment with them.
You get a total pan. You see all the residents, all the bikini girls, all the other drug dealers who shouldn't even be there, but are because they got invited by their cousins or brothers, and and next thing you know, it's like they're all dropping like flies. It was like, I don't feel sorry for any privileged asshole, just scum of the earth. Even the people who are there who haven't done anything, they're still hanging out with awful people, so it's like, okay.
Oh my God. Like Don Eladio's character, I have to say that like every single time he's on the screen and everything, you just like hate him, but he's just so charismatic.
Yeah, you're like, I wonder what fucked up thing he's gonna say this
Yeah,
week.
like what is he gonna say? What is he gonna
Is
do
he
right
going-
now? Who's he gonna shoot? Who's he gonna kill? Who's he gonna do? Like what is he gonna do?
I am surprised that he didn't, cap someone, put his junk in someone's face, or just do other fucked up shit. Because that's how he reads. That just is that kind of. As soon as he's
you're
in
just
the room,
like sitting, like it can be like he's just so calm and everything. The conversation's so calm, and you're just like on the edge of your seat, just wondering what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's too quiet.
It does exactly, and Stephen Bauer having already been, in Scarface and all these other movies, and not really doing anything since. And then this was just this and Ray Donovan were just the perfect, where he plays a cleanup crew, a fixer, so to speak. It's just these have been the greatest just comeback roles for him. I know he's still high as fuck in real life, which is why he's had been difficult to work with, but.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he had a cool career best here, to be in a Godfather worthy type show that just, again, like you said, you couldn't have said it better. I could not have said it better. And just having someone who you just look forward to just seeing how awful they will be. And just now that I've seen him react to Tony Dalton's character on the recent season, that was a eye-opener too. Is like, okay, I had no idea that he had beef with all these other guys. I always thought it was just with Gus himself, but seeing him mess around with Lalo of the Salamancas.
Oh my god.
And Lalo's been
Lalo is
he's got this
oh.
porn stash and just all this other stuff. He just looks at you like, what's up, everybody?
There's no telling. Like Lalo, like, oh my god, his character, he is like, I feel like he's just as crazy as Tuco, but like a lot more. Like he's just so much calmer and everything. Like Tuco will run in guns a-blazing or whatever. Lalo will just walk in, like calm as a cucumber, and then just start shooting everyone. Like it's just
yeah, and it was interesting.
It's scary. It's scary.
Even especially in the finale of season 5.
And even when he's calm and everything, and when nothing's going on, there's no telling what he's gonna do. Like when he jumped like on top of Jimmy's car, like jumped down. I was just like, oh, so now he does parkour.
Yeah, and then when he's just flat out giving the promise, saying, everyone else is always fretting to kill him, like Nacho, total asshole, can never get his way in this real world, but now I've underestimated him in these last 10 minutes of these last 2 episodes of Saul season 5. But it was like with Lalo, he just comes on in and you're just like, did he just do a spider monkey? What is he doing? and then he just flat out just makes absolutely just amateur moves that should not be for anyone of his profession. And there he is. He totally fucked up. And then he just, everyone else has always been like, you're gonna get me out of here, Saul. But here with him, he's like, he just looks at him without saying it. It's like, and you're a lawyer, you're gonna get me out of here. Otherwise, you will die. I think what's interesting is just how this has just encouraged people to be more creative with the genre. Is like, okay, for a while there were shows that would have plot twists every episode, but then it got to where it's like, okay, now you're just trying way too hard to get people to tune in. It doesn't feel authentic. You're just gasping at straws. And this one, it kind of reminded people, it's like, you got to outline all the mayhem, and then you have fun with it all, and then it becomes a character in and of itself. And it's also been very annoying because, like I said, each time I talk about or want to pitch some kind of crime thing, any mention of drugs, everyone instantly goes, "Oh, like Breaking Bad." Well,
Oh my god!
I
Like
hope
there
we're
are
as
so many other movies and TV shows and everything with drugs in them.
I know. The Wire, The Cleaner with Benjamin
Oh yeah,
Bratt.
The Wire, and the thing is, The Wire is like one of the biggest, best shows. Like everybody, whenever you think, oh, what are the best shows? The Wire is always up there.
Everything. And I can't tell you how many people I've had to get in just stupid arguments with. It's like, seriously, you thought that was boring, but this one wasn't? Oh my god. You have no soul. And it's like Oz and Homicide, where it's supposed to be David Simon and company's, take on everything wrong with society. It's an anti-TV show. So it's like, seeing Snoop and Bodie and all these other guys just be just very Stringer Bell, just all those guys were. Even McNulty, the douchebag detective, was good at his job, but awful at everything else. Just see all these people. It's like nothing is glamorous here, but it's fascinating because it got you talking. And to see it so criminally ignored by the Emmys and Golden Globes, fuck you guys. Fuck
Oh
you.
yeah.
Seriously. there was, it was like, it was one of the first shows I binged during college.
It's
and
weird. It's weird having a show like Breaking Bad be so like universally liked.
It is absolutely rare.
Because a lot of people, especially I think my age group and like younger people in general, like they just don't watch. They just never watch like stuff like that or whatever.
Or they could just never bring themselves to. I've had to even tell people is like with stuff like Ozark and everything is like it's not going to be point A and B. You know, it's not graphic, but it is still it's going to make you very uncomfortable. So you cannot watch this if you are the squeamish type. Do not. You know, if you can't handle an average, dead body on the average crime show, then don't bother. But if you are open-minded and you want something that will actually I hate to say this. I've liked earlier seasons of Sopranos, but in this day and age, I really feel like that show has become very irrelevant just because there's just so many other shows that have just done it better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
I can see that. I mean, a lot of older shows like they get
Oz,
like knocked down.
Oz is still up there with me. I still think that one is very excellent, very jaw-dropping, and has stood the test of time.
Can you hear that?
Yes. But it's okay. It's okay. It's just minor.
Okay, sorry. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oz and other shows that stood the test of time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of shows, especially like, you get to a certain point. A lot of shows get to a certain point where they kind of fall off in like the later seasons. You get to a certain point and you can tell like the writers or something just like got bored or like they can't come up with anything else.
They hit a brick wall and they should have just
called it a day.
They should have done a movie reunion even too. And unfortunately, there's even ones that haven't dated as well just because they had the nerve. Some producer up top said, we have a license to use these kind of popular songs that are on the radio now. You're going to use that. And it's like, well, that's going to make it date even worse.
Oh yeah. Lock and Key. Have you watched Lock and Key?
I haven't. I've been avoiding a lot of Netflix shows after being bored senselessly by a Warrior Nun. Yes, that's a show. Do not watch it.
Oh my god. But I feel like a lot of like you said, a lot of new shows, like they put these songs in, they put like, they just some of them just put stuff in just to make them relevant or like just for like fan service or something. Just like, oh, I love this song,
Like the Chicago shows.
It doesn't work.
Exactly. The Chicago shows work, in my opinion. Even FBI shows work by doing more than just what Dick Wolf does and all his other Law and Order shows, by actually just having some unusual crimes and, again, shit hitting the fan for all kinds of characters. And then
the funny thing about like Law and Order, since you mentioned the funny thing about Law and Order is it's like the same thing over and over and over again, but people watch.
They do the same thing over and over again, but
but it's so well like executed.
Exactly. They are comfortable. The first season is always get the style, and then after that, we're gonna do more than what you've seen on Saint Elsewhere or NYPD Blue. We're actually gonna raise the notch even extra hard and just be creative with the crime. And sometimes they're not even about the crime. Sometimes they avoid the courtroom altogether, and it's just the character just punching their locker, realizing I'm a fuck up, I gotta quit the force, and I got some other melodrama. And Bosch is another one. I
actually haven't seen Bosch yet.
Okay, what about Jack Ryan, the new spy show with John Krasinski from The Office? That one does a good job, and it even has Wendell Pierce.
Now you're like adding stuff to my watch list.
Okay, even better. It has Bunk from The Wire, so there you go. And both those guys, it starts off just as a total, even though it's involving CIA and dangerous missions, that doesn't even happen until like the third episode. And the other stuff is just them absolutely just staring each other down, saying, "You interrupted me. What's your fucking problem?" You know, and it's like the anti-office ever. It's like
the anti-office.
it's like, seriously, dude, I've been here longer than you. I worked my ass up. I have no problem with you. I just felt like you ignored everything I told you. And basically, two characters at each other's throats, and then realizing they have everything in common. They just came from a different background. You know, he's a Muslim, but can't say that because, you know, CIA is all, you know, anti, you know, terrorism of any kind. And then you got Jack Ryan, who's, again, just very different portrayal from all the other movies like Red October, Clear and Present Danger, where he's more of a guy is like, he's the first guy to know everything, but only everyone has their own agenda. And so it has all that commentary. You can be good at your job, but if you are ignored and in a place where everyone refuses to listen to you, your impact is very limited.
Yeah.
And when you got other congressmen yanking your chain and other stuff, then it gets even more political. And it's like,
Are you gonna do a House of Cards episode?
you know, it almost is to that level, minus a pedophile playing an main lead role in that. But
I mean, you're gonna.
That would have actually been funny. Kevin Spacey just shows up in an episode of Breaking Bad. Is like, oh, I see what you're selling drugs to. I got it. Definitely, it's also hard, like you say, to find certain shows because, like you say, the ads either are terrible or you have to find one you have to pretty much go to one of those sites where you find stuff. If you like this, you might like that. And sometimes the only thing they have in common is keywords, but that's it. It's like totally different style and everything. So I think we're getting to that point is like we're burnt out, but we got the need for something I can put on. And if I can watch it without wanting to skip around or, you know.
Oh yeah, that's the main thing is trying to find something that you can watch and just watch. Like you're not gonna want it. You're not gonna like have it as background noise.
Hey,
you know?
something.
You're not gonna just like put it down and forget about it for a couple weeks.
Right. And I'm okay with it being outdated, but I don't want it to be where it's like, you know, I know everything that's going to happen and it's not going to change season to season. It's like, it's okay to follow a formula, but like you say, you got to have some other backstory or drama for the main characters.
You're going to have to edit out the baby.
Yeah, I will. Trust me. So like, we mentioned all the cop characters earlier, like Pembleton, played by Andre Bragner on Homicide, was great because you wanted to see, even though he's playing to the camera, much like Mariska Hargitay as Olivia Benson or Sam Waterston as Jack McCoy in the Law Rooms, you know, it's like, it's interesting seeing, or even Vic, just flat out, just, you know, on the shield, just flat out yanking.
But see, now you're talking about like lawyer shows now, and we were just talking about that a minute ago.
Yeah.
And like, how Better Call Saul is just like,
yeah,
so different, especially like in the scenes that would be similar.
Yeah, but I mean, like he even the Shield is different enough where, I mean, that was like you're seeing fucked up stuff happen in a police station, but it's not on necessarily the crimes. It's more on how is this person going to get away with all this other mayhem and chaos they're creating, and the other stuff is just kind of just other obstacles or places where people notice something is not right. And I think now that we got Saul and we got these other shows that we mentioned endlessly, I think now we got to get to the resting place where now is like, okay, everything has been done, but now you just have to believe in everything, as opposed to, I'm not sure if this works or not. I just want to get funding because I got a famous actor on here. You know, it's like,
I feel like that's how a lot of stuff gets made nowadays.
Yeah. Or it has to be some other starring so-and-so from this movie or show. And it's like we're past the days of where we can have just deliberately bad movies. I mean, there's still a market for it, but someone's got to get paid and some studios got to be making bank on it. You know, I don't want, when you and I work on another movie, we don't want it to be an Asylum or Maverick Home Entertainment. We do want an actual, some kind of theatrical run, or at least some have.
Whenever we actually, like, you know, get down and do it, we want to do it well. We want to do it the right. Yeah, we want to do it like
measured, as opposed to well,
and especially not thrown together, just like not pieced together. We want it to be like
it's not done,
purposeful. Everything's purposeful,
right? And I mean, you were good at always just saying we don't need this many shots, and I'm always about, well, if it's not making sense on the script, it's not going to make sense as the movie, so it's got to get figured out now.
Oh yeah, that's a mistake. A lot of people make the two things that me and you always pointed out. It's just like you make all of these shots, like you said for me, like you do all these shots, and then everybody wants to use all the shots.
Exactly,
and the editor, which was a lot of the time me.
Yep. And if the actors are still misbehaving even after you promise to pay them, then fuck them. Just say, you know what? 2 characters just became 1. Thank you for goodbye. It is like, it doesn't have to be this, well, they can't do it this day or that day. If they are holding your production hostage, move on.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make sense to just wait on them.
Hold on.
Oh, man. So thank you ever so much for being on here. Where can we find you on the interwebs?
Ooh. Well, I have 9. Huh?
If you want to say, I'm not going to force anyone.
Oh, no. I mean, I have a Facebook page with my name on it. I have an IMDb. I have a Twitter. You know, all my name. Easy to find.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up review show.